Yeah, okay. Hi, everybody. Are you all doing good? Yeah, great. So, today I want to talk a little bit about community based tourism. Does anyone know what it is? Can you raise your hand? Okay, perfect. Then you're going to learn something new today. But first, who am I? So, I'm actually from two countries. So, my father is German and my mother is from Australia. So I was born in Germany and I grew up there. I went to school. And then when I was 16, I moved to Australia to live with my mom's family. So I can also experience what her culture is like. And yeah, apart from that, my big hobby is music. I sing and I play guitar. But my other passion is tourism. So I moved to the Netherlands actually to study at university there. So yeah, I live in this really small town over here. It's called Vlissingen. It's almost in Belgium, so this is already Belgium. And yeah, I study tourism management there. What do you guys study? Okay, yeah. So kind of in a similar direction. So yeah, that's my university where I study. It's called HZ University of Applied Sciences. And yeah, as I said, our program is tourism management, but we also do a lot of different things. So we also do a lot about sustainability and ecotourism, but also hotel management, event management, marketing. So it's a very broad course. And yeah, one of the things we also learn is community-based tourism, which is what I want to talk about now. The main goals of community-based tourism is that tourism also benefits local communities. So you probably know sometimes you have like really big investors coming from other countries and they build a big hotel and they get most of the money, and the people that actually live there or work there only get a really small percentage of it. And with community-based tourism, the goal is that actually the communities can manage the tourism. So that can be tourism businesses or yeah, workshops, guides, but that also in the end, the community gets all the benefits. So that can be in a lot of different areas. So of course you have environmental aspects of tourism, the socio-culture and the economic. Do you guys also study the Sustainable Development Goals? Yeah. Does someone want to pick one? Okay, that's a good one. So, for example, with community-based tourism, it kind of tries to address all of them. And quality of education, it's a big one because sometimes when yeah, new hotels or businesses are built in a new tourism area, the local people maybe don't have the education in hospitality. So then a lot of the jobs go to maybe foreign workers, migrant workers, which of course it's also a good thing for them, but then for the local communities it's important to, for example, yeah, provide quality education for them so they can actually work in the tourism industry and also then get the benefit. Does someone want to choose another one? Decent work and economic growth. So a lot of the time tourism helps boost the economy of a country, right? So it has a lot of economic benefits also on a large scale. But yeah, a lot of the time the economic growth, it's more for, yeah, again, the big businesses, not so much for the local communities. So with community-based tourism, you want to make sure that economic growth is not only for the whole country, but also for the area. So for example, here in Lombok, in Mandalika, that also economic growth is here and not only in Indonesia overall, right? Does that make sense? So let's start with the environmental aspects. So community-based tourism is also supposed to make sure that the environment is protected, because we know it's also really important. Like, okay, it's nice to have tourism, but still we need food, we need water, and for that we need land, we need agriculture, and community-based tourism. Basically, it's a concept where communities can create their own tourism. So maybe, for example, some communities, they want to organize workshops where they share like traditional crafts that they make or how they actually farm, to show a little bit of that, but also to raise awareness that actually we also have to protect the environment and conserve it for the long term. Because otherwise, eventually, let's take Lombok as an example. If tourism grows and grows, but only the way it is now, then it will be full of hotels, but then there's no more land to actually do any farming. So then where do you get all your food? You have to get it from other islands, and it makes it all really complicated. So community-based tourism also tries to to take the environmental aspects into account. Then we have the sociocultural. And I think this is probably the biggest one, because community-based tourism is also all about sharing your culture. So, for example, I come from Germany. So in Germany, we have a lot of culture, actually. I don't know if you know the traditional dresses, and the men, they have the lederhosen, leather pants. And now a lot of people, Oktoberfest? So Oktoberfest, it's once a year in October in Munich. It's a big beer festival. So people meet and they listen to traditional Bavarian music, and they drink a lot of beer and eat a lot of good food. So a lot of people now, they think, oh, that's the whole German culture. But of course, there are a lot of different aspects to our culture. We also have traditional dances and traditional instruments. And so community-based tourism, it tries to show these hidden aspects of culture. Because a lot of the time when you travel somewhere, you only see like the first thing, the hotels. But the people that live there, there's a lot more culture hidden there, right? The benefits of that is, of course, that you can make sure the culture also stays for the future. Because if, slowly everyone is working in tourism, a lot of tourists come, it also changes, of course, your behavior, because you see how tourists act, so maybe you change a little bit. But it's important to keep the culture and to share it, because it's also interesting for people that are visiting a place, like Lombok, for example, to also see like what the actual culture of the people here is like. And on the other hand, it's also nice, it can be cultural exchange. So for example, I can share something about my culture, and then, I can also learn from your culture. So I think it's really nice if you can learn from both ways. And the last aspect is about respect. So I think by being interested in someone else's culture, you also kind of show them respect, right? That you respect their culture and their way of life. And by engaging in community-based tourism, you can really grow that, because already it's like the first step, because you're showing awareness, you're showing that you want to learn. So that's a really big message of community-based tourism. And then, of course, the big one, it's the economical. So I already talked a little bit about it in the introduction. And of course, I think a lot of you know, you also study something related to tourism, that it brings a lot of job opportunities. But as we said, maybe not always the jobs go to all the local people, right? And it's nice if community-based tourism can actually give local people the opportunity to do work, but also not just any work. Like, I'm also back home, I study, but I also work as a waitress in a restaurant. So it can be really fun, but maybe it's also not the job everyone wants to do for the rest of their life, right? And community-based tourism, the goal is that people can actually do activities that they also like, right? So if you're really good at something, like in Germany, for example, we do a lot of wood carving. It's very traditional. So you have like a piece of wood and a knife, and then you make like little figures. And so, for example, if someone is really good at that, then they can give a workshop to tourists and show how to do it. So it's also something that they enjoy. And then the last one is also the economic independence and the equal distribution. So what I said before, that the money doesn't only go to already the people that have a lot of money, because they maybe had the money to build a hotel, but actually they're also the people that are working to make sure that the hotel can keep running, get some of the money, and not just a tiny bit, but a fair income for their hard work, and also that they're not dependent only on the big people. So I am currently here doing research. Do you guys know it? So in the Netherlands, for my studies, I'm also working together with an organization. And the organization I work with, they work a lot on community-based tourism in a lot of different countries. And one of their projects was in Haipukeng. And basically, the case there, it was that a lot of tourists were coming and they were taking a lot of pictures, because it's like an attraction, right? People see it and they're like, oh wow, it looks so cool. So people were visiting, they were taking pictures, and then they were leaving again. But actually the people that were living there, they were not getting any money. They were just, it's almost like when you go to a zoo and you have the animals, you just take pictures and you go. And yeah, and so that's why then they try to develop community-based tourism. And now they, for example, you all know homestays, right? So, for example, you can stay there in the village for like a night or maybe 2 nights. They'll cook you some traditional meals. You can actually talk to the people, get to know them, learn a little bit about the culture, not only take like the pictures and then leave. But they also offer workshops. They teach weaving, also cooking classes, different things. And the nice thing is then the money that the tourists pay, they pay directly to the people. So they get the money and they also get to share their culture. And so in the long term, it's a really nice prospect because it means that probably they will be able to, sustain themselves independently. They don't depend only on the big tour operators, but they actually can interact directly with the tourists and benefit from it. So this is like one example of community-based tourism, what it can look like. So I'm currently writing my thesis in the Netherlands, and it's about community-based tourism. I'm here to do my research, and of course you have the Sasak people here. Is someone, some of you Sasak? Yeah. Yeah. So of course all of you know that tourism here has been really growing over the past few years, and there's a lot of new hostels and restaurants, and it's really booming. But then a lot of people are worried that actually the same thing that I was saying before can happen, right? That only the big investors come, more hotels, and actually the local people, they have to move, they have to make space for more tourism, but actually not benefit so much. My research is to see if community-based tourism is something that can work here, right? So I'm doing research about seeing like how can people be motivated to do community-based tourism, to see the benefits and the disadvantages, and to understand if it's actually something that people want or not want, because it also depends on every country, every community. It's different. Some people, they don't want to share their culture because it's really private, but some people, they really want to share the culture. So that's why I'm here, and that's the kind of research I'm doing here in Lombok. Do you guys know a little bit about how to conduct research? Do you know like different research methods, what to do, or not so much? Okay, so in my research, I have 3 different methods, right? So the first one, it's observation. So observation, it means kind of just watching, right? So I'm here, I'm staying in Kuta. So there, of course, it's really the touristic area. So it's also just watching, seeing like how is the tourism there? Are local people involved in tourism, or is it other international people or people from other islands in Indonesia? But it's also observing, for example, in some Sasak villages, right? Going to the villages, actually seeing how different the life there is to the life in the touristic areas in Lombok. The second one then is the interviews. So I'm doing interviews with 2 different groups of people. So the first one, it's people that are actually working in tourism. So that's people that are maybe in a hotel or in a restaurant, probably most of them in Kuta. To talk to them about like, do they actually enjoy the work that they're doing? Why are they working in tourism? Or maybe also would they want to do something different with tourism? And then the other group of people, it's people that are, not really connected with tourism at all. People that are just living removed from the tourism for now, maybe still doing agriculture or fishing, and to understand what the tourism development here means for them, if they like it, if they don't like it, to understand the whole situation. And then the last one, it's doing a focus group discussion. I think I will be able to do that with some of you, because I think you have a really nice perspective, because you're also studying something with tourism, right? So you have some knowledge about it, but you also live here, so you're also local. So it's nice to understand what you think about the tourism here. So that brings me kind of to the end of this little presentation. Does anyone have any questions about me, about my study, about my research here?
Good morning, Theresa. My name is Lala. So, I want to know more about your research here. You are researching for community-based tourism, right? May I know what kind of community-based tourism you want to do in Lombok? And then what, as a Sasak people, we can help for you? I think that's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
First of all, thank you for the time and your explanation is really good. And my name is Yuda, and I would like to know: are you only focusing? Mr. Fuad told me before that you are researching in Sade. Are you only focusing on Sade, or you have any place to research here in Lombok? Thank you.
So I will start with your question. Really good question, because a lot of people think, for example, like the organization I also work with in the Netherlands, that they come and then, like they say, oh, let's do this and this and this. But actually, the thing with community-based tourism is the goal is that it's something that the community enjoys, right? When it comes to like what kind of community-based tourism to develop, it's actually depends on what the people want, right? And that's also, I mean, of course, my research is still like very first stages, but that can be like another research after, to understand then actually if I find out that people actually want to do community-based tourism, that it's something people are interested in, to then understand, well, what parts of their culture do they want to share, and then in what way. So is that, I don't know, doing a guided tour maybe, around the village and showing like what the life is like, or is it a homestay where you actually like join the people, like doing some tasks, like typical tasks in the home, or is it some workshops, right, showing like what I explained before in Huaypukeng with the weaving, things like this. So it can be a lot of different things, but the main point is that it's about what the people actually want to do, and not what they should do per se, because actually everything can be valuable if you turn it into something nice. And the second part of your question, I think, was about like what the Sasak people can do, right? I think, yeah, just being really, really open about it and communicating your needs and your wishes for the future, right? Like what you want tourism to be like here in 10 years, and to be really honest about it. I think that's really important, and to also be realistic about it. Yeah, if that makes sense. Yes. The second question was about Sade village, right? So Sade village, it's part of my research methods that I was saying before. So I told you that I also want to interview like 2 different groups of people. The same goes for the observation. So for me, it's really interesting to see, because Sade village, it's kind of traditional, but it's also for tourists. I want to visit it and observe and actually see, like, is it really authentic, or is it more now made for tourists to make money? Because it kind of goes a little bit in the direction of community-based tourism, right? The idea behind it, sharing something about your culture, sharing how the Sasak people live there. But I want to see if it's actually like that or not. So that's one part of my research, to observe like tourism things that already exist here with the Sasak people compared to what's not here yet. So it's only a part of my research.
Okay. Thank you for your come to our class. It is very useful for our student. Yeah. I wanna ask something about your research. Why you choose Mandalika? It is very famous in your country or not? Because there are so many places in Indonesia that we have to research. Yeah. And the second one is, I think it will be better to us to make a collaboration research. Yeah, I mean, we have to know it is true or not, the Sade or the tourist, because in my opinion it's not very natural for their activity. It is looks like they made it for tourists, but we don't have research about that. I think your research is very important for this campus and also Lombok. I think that's my question. Maybe. Thank you very much.
It's a really good question. Like, why here? Of course, there's so many places, I think, in Indonesia, but even other countries, right, where this is a really important topic. The reason why this stood out, first of all, Indonesia in general, it's a really popular travel destination for especially young people in Europe right now. A lot of people my age, when they finish high school, when they finish university, they go travel for like 6 months, 1 year. And a lot of them, they go to Southeast Asia. So it's a lot in Thailand, a lot in Indonesia. I think the two of the most popular countries. Of course, young people are also the future for the tourism because they're the ones that are going to be traveling for the next maybe 40, 50 years. We found out that in Lombok, specifically like Kuta, there's been a lot of development over the past years because some places like Bali, for example, it's already been really touristic for quite some time. Whereas Lombok, it's still better. It's not so crowded. It's not so busy in tourism, but it's kind of developing to maybe go in a similar direction as Bali. And so that's kind of the reason why we chose here, because now is a time where you can still develop like community-based tourism before it's, so to say, too late, right? Because now there's still quite a small area that's really touristic. It's really mainly around Kuta, the surfing beaches, but a lot of the land is still it's still kind of in its original state. A lot of people are still living their lives, and that's kind of why we chose Mandalika, because we think now it's a good time where it makes sense to do this kind of research, because you can still actually do something before it gets really, really busy. And yeah, I think also it's a really, like for me, of course, it's a really interesting research here, just out of personal interest also. But I also, I would love to share my research also with you when it's done, because I think you are the ones that live here, you are the ones that maybe will work here later, and you can actually make a change. I myself, I cannot make a big change, right? But if my research can maybe contribute to that, I think it would be really nice.